My name is Ethan, and until that weekend I believed confidence belonged to other people. I had always been fascinated by feminine fashion. It wasn't about pretending to be someone else. It was about discovering a side of myself that felt peaceful whenever I looked in the mirror wearing elegant clothes. My small apartment held a secret collection hidden inside 3 plain storage boxes under my bed. Dresses, heels, wigs, makeup palettes, handbags, jewelry. Everything carefully organized where no visitor would ever find them. Every Friday night became my escape. I would lock the door, close the curtains, play soft music, and slowly transform. The moment the wig settled perfectly on my head and the lipstick matched my outfit, the stress of the week disappeared. Looking into the mirror, I didn't see someone trying to fool the world. I simply saw someone smiling without fear. The only person who knew my secret was my cousin Lily. Instead of laughing, she had surprised me. "You look happier like this," she once said while helping me fix my eyeliner. Those words stayed with me for years. Lily loved fashion almost as much as I did. She often borrowed my styling ideas, and we spent hours talking about colors, hairstyles, and accessories. She never treated my crossdressing as something strange. To her, it was simply another creative hobby. Then everything changed on a rainy Thursday afternoon. My phone rang while I was studying. "Ethan, I need your help." Lily sounded terrified. She explained that she had entered a local beauty contest organized by a fashion company. The winner would receive a modeling contract, a cash prize, and a chance to appear in promotional campaigns. She had made it to the final round, but on the morning of the event she slipped on wet stairs, spraining her ankle badly enough that the doctor told her not to walk for several weeks. "I can't go." I felt awful for her. "I'm sorry." She stayed silent for several seconds before saying something that made my heart stop. "I want you to take my place." I laughed because I thought she was joking. She wasn't. "You already know how to walk in heels better than I do. Lily. You know makeup. Lily. You know fashion. Lily. You even know my styling routine." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "They'll find out immediately." "No, they won't." I stared at my phone. She continued. "The registration photos are simple. The judges have never met me in person. Everyone backstage is busy. If you wear the dress we planned and follow my routine, nobody will question anything." This is insane. I know. I've never stood on a stage. "I'll coach you." "What if someone recognizes me?" "They won't." "What if I ruin everything?" "You won't." Her confidence somehow made the impossible sound possible. That evening she arrived at my apartment carrying a large garment bag. Inside was the most beautiful evening gown I had ever seen. Soft emerald satin shimmered under the room's light. "It's perfect," I whispered. "I knew you'd say that." For the next 2 days, my apartment transformed into a miniature fashion studio. Lily corrected every movement. "Smaller steps. Relax your shoulders. Smile with your eyes. Don't rush." She balanced books on my head to improve my posture. She filmed me walking across the living room dozens of times. Every recording revealed tiny mistakes I had never noticed. Slowly, something unexpected happened. I stopped pretending. Instead of acting like Lily, I focused on becoming the most graceful version of myself. On Saturday morning, she handed me a sealed envelope. "Don't open it until you're backstage." "What's inside?" "A reminder." I slipped it into my handbag. The drive to the venue felt endless. The convention center towered over the parking lot with giant banners showing glamorous contestants smiling confidently toward the cameras. My stomach twisted. "I can't do this." Lily squeezed my hand. "You've already done the hardest part." "What part?" "Believing you're not good enough." Those words echoed in my mind as I walked through the entrance. The backstage area exploded with activity. Hair dryers roared. Makeup artists rushed between mirrors. Contestants adjusted gowns while photographers captured behind-the-scenes moments. No one looked twice at me. No one questioned why I was there. One volunteer smiled. "Contestant 23. Dressing room is that way. Contestant 23. For the first time, I wasn't hiding in a locked bedroom. I was standing among people who genuinely believed I belonged there. My hands trembled as I found my station. A professional makeup artist approached with a warm smile. "You have beautiful skin. This won't take long." Beautiful. No one had ever described me that way before. As she worked, another contestant sat beside me. She looked confident, elegant, and completely relaxed. "I'm Emma," she said. "You seem nervous." It's my first competition." She laughed softly. "It shows." My face turned red. Then she leaned closer and whispered something I never expected. "Don't worry. I was terrified my first time too." For the next few minutes, she shared small tips about smiling naturally, slowing my breathing, and enjoying the moment instead of fearing it. Her kindness melted away some of my panic. Maybe this wasn't about beating everyone else. Maybe it was about discovering who I could become. Just as I began calming down, a staff member rushed into the room. "We have a schedule change. The judges will be visiting backstage before the competition starts." Every contestant looked toward the entrance. My heartbeat slammed against my chest. If the judges came close enough, if they asked unexpected questions, if even one tiny detail didn't match, everything Lily and I had worked for could collapse before I ever stepped onto the stage. The room fell strangely quiet as everyone hurried to make last-minute adjustments. Makeup brushes moved faster, hairspray filled the air, and nervous laughter echoed from every corner. I tried to focus on my breathing, but every heartbeat felt louder than the one before. This wasn't just stage fright anymore. If anyone discovered the truth, I would embarrass myself, Lily, and possibly everyone involved in the competition. Emma noticed my hands shaking. "First competitions are always scary," she whispered with a reassuring smile. "Just remember, the judges aren't looking for perfection. They're looking for confidence." Confidence. That word sounded simple until I realized I had spent most of my life pretending not to exist. The judges entered backstage surrounded by organizers and photographers. They stopped at each contestant, asking simple questions about hobbies, future dreams, and what beauty meant to them. Every answer sounded polished and confident. The closer they came, the drier my mouth became. Contestant 20. Contestant 21. Contestant 22. Then they stood in front of me. A middle-aged woman wearing an elegant navy suit smiled warmly. "So, contestant 23. What inspired you to enter today's competition?" For half a second my mind went completely blank. Then I remembered something Lily had once said while we were organizing our closets. "Clothes don't create confidence. They reveal it." Smiled. I wanted to challenge myself. Fashion has always been a creative way for me to express confidence, and I realized that real beauty isn't about being the loudest person in the room. Sometimes it's about finding the courage to finally stop hiding. The judges exchanged quick glances. One of them nodded slowly. "That's a wonderful answer." My heart nearly stopped. They thanked me and continued down the line without asking another question. The moment they walked away, I quietly let out the breath I'd been holding for what felt like hours. Emma gently bumped my shoulder. "See, you worried for nothing." I smiled, but inside I knew she couldn't have been more wrong. Only minutes later, contestants were called to line up behind the stage curtain. Through a small opening, I could see hundreds of people filling the auditorium. Bright lights swept across the audience while energetic music echoed through the hall. I'd never seen so many people in one place. A stage assistant adjusted my contestant number. "You'll be fifth." Fifth. That meant I barely had any time to calm down. The music changed. The announcer welcomed everyone to the annual beauty competition, introducing the judges and sponsors before asking the audience to welcome the finalists. The curtain slowly opened. One by one, contestants stepped forward with graceful smiles, waving confidently while cameras flashed from every direction. Contestant 1. Contestant 2. Contestant 3. Contestant 4. Please welcome contestant 23. My legs moved before my brain could argue. The instant I stepped onto the stage, everything changed. The bright lights hid most of the audience, leaving only silhouettes beyond the spotlight. The fear that had followed me all morning suddenly became strangely quiet. I remembered every practice session in Lily's apartment. Small steps, relax shoulders, smile naturally, don't rush. I walked exactly as she had taught me. The applause grew louder with every step. At the end of the runway, I paused, smiled toward the cameras, slowly turned and walked back. The audience applauded again. Not because they knew my story. Not because they felt sorry for me. They simply appreciated what they saw. For the first time in my life, I wasn't worried about people staring at me. I welcomed it. Backstage, Emma grinned. I told you. You looked amazing. I laughed nervously. I thought I was going to trip. You hid it well. As the competition continued, contestants participated in several rounds. There was an evening gown presentation, a short introduction, and finally the interview section. The interview worried me the most. Unlike walking, there was no rehearsal, no script, only questions. When my turn arrived, I walked to the center of the stage where one of the judges waited with a microphone. What does confidence mean to you? The audience became completely silent. I thought about all the nights spent hiding dresses under my bed. All the times I deleted selfies because I feared someone might find them. All the excuses I made to avoid becoming myself. Then I answered honestly. I used to believe confidence meant never being afraid. Pause. But I learned that confidence is doing something meaningful even while you're scared. Every person has a part of themselves they hide because they're afraid of being judged. Real confidence begins the moment we stop letting fear decide who we're allowed to become. Silence. Then someone in the audience started clapping. Another person joined. Within seconds, the entire auditorium erupted into applause. Even the judges smiled. I couldn't believe it. Those words weren't prepared. They simply came from my heart. Backstage after the interview, contestants congratulated one another. One of them looked at me curiously. You've modeled before, right? I almost laughed. No. I don't believe that. I'm serious. You move like someone who's done this for years. Before I could answer, another contestant joined the conversation. I thought exactly the same. Their compliments felt unreal. Just 2 days earlier, I had been an ordinary student hiding my biggest hobby from the world. Now experienced contestants believed I belonged on the same stage as them. The final round arrived sooner than expected. All contestants returned to the stage while the judges calculated scores. The audience buzzed with excitement. My hands were freezing despite the warm lights. The host stepped forward holding a gold envelope. We would first like to congratulate every finalist. Tonight has reminded us that beauty is more than appearance. It is confidence, kindness, and authenticity. My heartbeat accelerated. The second runner-up is... Applause exploded as another contestant stepped forward. The first runner-up is... Emma. She hugged the winner beside her before taking her place. That meant only 2 contestants remained. Me. And another finalist standing at the opposite end of the stage. I stared at the envelope in the host's hands. There was absolutely no chance my name would be inside. When? The host smiled. Our winner is... He slowly opened the envelope, looked inside, paused for several long seconds, then his expression changed. He looked toward the judges as if asking for confirmation. The judges nodded. The audience leaned forward. Even the photographers lowered their cameras, sensing something unexpected was about to happen. Then the host raised the microphone, took a deep breath, and clearly spoke the one name I never imagined hearing in my entire life. The world seemed to stop moving. For a split second, I honestly believed I had imagined it. People around me started clapping, but I couldn't tell whether they were clapping for me or for someone standing behind me. I looked over my shoulder instinctively, convinced there had been a mistake. There wasn't. Emma gently touched my arm and smiled. Go. I think they called the wrong name. They called yours. My legs felt numb as I slowly walked toward the center of the stage. The audience stood to their feet, cheering louder with every step. Camera flashes exploded like tiny fireworks, making it almost impossible to see beyond the bright lights. The host placed the winner's sash across my shoulder, while another organizer handed me a bouquet of white roses. Congratulations, I whispered. Thank you. Even those two words barely came out. A sparkling crown rested on a velvet cushion. One of the judges carefully lifted it and placed it on my head. The applause grew even louder. I had spent years hiding this side of myself because I thought people would only laugh. Instead, hundreds of strangers were celebrating me. The photographers asked us to face different directions. Smile. Look this way. One more photo. Every flash reminded me that this moment would never happen again. After the ceremony, all finalists were escorted into a media room where local reporters waited for short interviews. I silently prayed they wouldn't choose me first. Course they did. A young reporter smiled warmly. Congratulations on your victory. How are you feeling right now? I laughed nervously. Honestly, overwhelmed. What surprised you most about today's competition? Paused for a moment. I expected everyone to compete against each other. And I found kindness instead. Several contestants smiled after hearing that. Another reporter stepped forward. You looked incredibly calm during your walk. What's your secret? If only she knew. Smiled. I practiced. A lot. That wasn't a lie. The interviews continued for nearly 20 minutes before everyone finally returned backstage. The moment I reached my dressing table, I pulled the sealed envelope Lily had given me that morning from my handbag. Until then, I had completely forgotten about it. My fingers trembled as I opened it. Inside was a handwritten note. No matter what happens today, remember something. You are not borrowing my confidence. You already had your own. Today you're simply allowing the world to see it. I felt tears filling my eyes. After everything that had happened, those words meant more than any trophy. Emma noticed the letter. Everything okay? I nodded quickly. My cousin wrote this. She sounds like an amazing person. She really is. While everyone packed their dresses and makeup, an older woman approached me wearing a badge from one of the event sponsors. I hope I'm not interrupting. Not at all. She introduced herself as Natalie, the creative director for a regional fashion company. We'd love to invite you to a small promotional photo shoot next weekend. For a second I forgot how to speak. I'm sorry, me. She laughed. Yes, you. I've never modeled before. You don't need experience. You have something much harder to teach. I tilted my head. What? Presents. She handed me a business card. Think about it. As she walked away, I stared at the card for several seconds. This couldn't possibly be real. An hour later, I finally left the venue carrying the bouquet, trophy, and garment bag. Lily was waiting inside the car. The second she saw the crown, her mouth fell open. You actually won. Neither of us could stop laughing. She hugged me so tightly that the flowers nearly fell onto the pavement. I knew you could do it. No, you didn't. I absolutely did. You sent me because you wanted to save your place. She smiled mischievously. I also knew you needed one little push. During the drive home, we talked about every detail of the competition. The contestants, the judges, the interviews, the applause, everything. Then I mentioned the modeling invitation. Lily almost slammed on the brakes. Are you serious? I handed her the business card. She looked at it, looked at me, then smiled wider than I had ever seen. I think your life just changed. I don't even know if I should call. You should. But what if they eventually find out everything? She became unusually quiet. They might. Then what? Then you'll tell the truth. The words stayed with me the rest of the evening. Back in my apartment, I carefully removed the crown and placed it on the table. Then I slowly took off the wig, removed the earrings, wiped away the makeup, changed into ordinary clothes. Within 30 minutes, the winner of the beauty contest had completely disappeared. Or had she? I stood in front of the mirror wearing jeans and a hoodie. For years, I believed confidence came from makeup, dresses, and perfect hairstyles. Now I realized those things had only helped me unlock something that had always been inside me. The confidence remained. The next morning my phone buzzed non-stop. Lily had sent me dozens of screenshots. Photos from the competition were spreading across social media. People praised the winner's elegance, smile, confidence, and interview answers. Comments poured in by the hundreds. So graceful. My favorite contestant. She deserved the crown. What an inspiring speech. I smiled without replying. Nobody knew who I really was. Or at least, that's what I thought. Late that afternoon, another notification appeared. Emma had sent me a friend request, along with a message. Congratulations again. I had a feeling there was something unique about you. Smiled. Then I read the second sentence. My heart instantly stopped. I'd love to meet for coffee. Because I think you're hiding a secret, and I don't think it's the one everyone else would expect. I stared at Emma's message for nearly 5 minutes without touching my phone. My mind raced through every possibility. Had she recognized me? Had someone discovered Lily couldn't attend? Had I accidentally revealed something backstage? The more I thought about it, the more impossible it became to ignore. Finally, I typed a simple reply. Sure. When? She responded almost instantly. Tomorrow afternoon. I agreed before I could change my mind. The next day felt longer than the entire beauty contest. I changed outfits 3 times before settling on a simple sweater and jeans. No wig. No makeup. Just me. When I arrived at the cafe, Emma was already there, smiling as if we had known each other for years. You came. I almost didn't. I figured. After ordering coffee, neither of us spoke for a moment. Then she smiled. You've been wondering how much I know. He nodded. She leaned back. I don't know your story. But I do know you weren't the person everyone thought you were. Every muscle in my body tensed. She continued before I could say anything. The first clue wasn't your appearance. It wasn't. No. What was it? The way you looked at the dresses. I frowned. You admired them. So, most contestants looked at the dresses like they were costumes for the competition. You looked at them like someone who genuinely loved fashion. I stayed silent. She smiled again. I've worked in fashion for years. You notice things. I laughed nervously. I guess you do. She lowered her voice. I don't care who you are. I care that you're kind. I care that you encouraged the other contestants. I care that your interview sounded honest. Everything else, a shrug, is your story to tell. For the first time since the contest, I felt completely safe. I took a deep breath. My name isn't Lily. I know. My name is Ethan. She wasn't surprised. I guessed. My cousin injured her ankle before the competition. I entered in her place. I never expected to win. Emma listened without interrupting. When I finished, she smiled. You know what impressed me most? What? You never mocked the competition. You respected everyone there. You worked hard. You earned every clap. But technically, she gently interrupted. I'm not talking about the rules. I'm talking about the person. Those words meant more than she probably realized. Over the next few weeks, Emma introduced me to several people in the local fashion community. I expected rejection. Instead, I found acceptance. Some people knew my full story. Others only knew pieces of it. Nobody treated me like a joke. Most simply appreciated my passion for styling, color coordination, and presentation. Natalie, the creative director I had met after the contest, invited me to the promotional photo shoot. This time I almost said no. Then I remembered Lily's note. You already had your own confidence. Accepted. The photo shoot was nothing like the competition. There were photographers adjusting lights, stylists discussing fabrics, designers pinning dresses, hair artists creating elegant looks. Instead of feeling like an outsider, I felt like I had finally found people who enjoyed the same creative world I had secretly loved for years. Between shots, one photographer showed me a few preview images on his camera. I barely recognized myself. Not because of the makeup, not because of the dress, because I looked genuinely happy. Months passed. The trophy gathered a thin layer of dust on a shelf, but the lesson it represented became clearer every day. I stopped treating crossdressing like something that only existed behind locked doors. I still valued my privacy, but I no longer carried the same shame I once did. Fashion became something I shared with trusted friends instead of hiding from everyone. Lily loved reminding me of that first phone call. I told you. You'd say no. You'd panic. And somehow, you'd end up winning. I laughed every single time. One evening, while organizing my closet, I found the emerald satin gown folded neatly inside its garment bag. I held it for a moment and smiled. It wasn't just a dress anymore. It was a reminder of the day fear stopped making my decisions. A year after the competition, the organizers invited several former winners back for a charity fashion event. This time they knew exactly who I was. There were no secrets, no borrowed identity, no pretending. When I walked onto the stage, I wasn't trying to convince anyone I belonged there. I already knew I did. The applause sounded different that night. Not louder, just more meaningful. After the event, a shy young person approached me. They looked nervous, just as I had before my first competition. "Can I ask you something?" "Of course. I've always wanted to explore fashion." They hesitated. "But I'm scared of what people will think." I smiled because I remembered asking myself that same question hundreds of times. Answers begin the moment the world accepts you. It begins the moment you accept yourself. That single weekend started with a desperate favor from my cousin. It ended with a new chapter of my life, new friendships, new opportunities, and a version of myself I never thought I'd have the courage to become. Looking back now, I understand something I couldn't see back then. The beauty contest didn't need one more girl. It needed one more person willing to discover who they really were.